Do you now's your chance. Do you want to come in? Come on. What time are we on, guys? 3:15. Come on. You can stand off camera. Go on.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the Islamic view of heaven, and you're saying that it leads to situations where inhabitants of heaven might behave in a way that we would consider morally reprehensible. Is that what that's basically what
I'll lay out in super quick form my argument.
Right.
Allah has created a species of slave in heaven. Slaves, a species of subhumans in heaven, and that this creates injustice in heaven, that good Muslims would condemn on earth the idea of having sex slaves, and that this vision of heaven then legitimizes injustices here on earth and results in things that Muslims can recognize as being degenerate, like, for instance, having meaningless sex with someone, you know?
What you're doing is you're building an argument on a premise where you said that there will be sex slaves in heaven. That's where you started.
That's where I'm starting from.
Where are you getting that from?
Right. In the Quran, does it talk about the fact that you're going to be given companions?
Companions, yes.
With big, beautiful eyes and big breasts and nice round bosoms, you know.
I've not come across the term sex slaves in
Right, hold on.
So that's where I'm asking where you got that from.
How would you define a sex slave?
Well, you're using the term.
Right, a sex slave is someone that has no choice about whether they have sex with you.
They're compelled to have sex.
Correct.
Okay. So where does it say that that's what will happen in heaven?
These companions, do you have sex with them?
Presumably.
Right. You have a choice about it, but do they have a choice about it? Can they say no?
If they're a companion, then it means it's consensual, doesn't it?
Right. No, not at all.
Well,
not at all.
What a companion means.
No.
Is there a difference between the term companion and the term sex slave?
Yes, there is.
What's the difference?
But hold on one second.
Yeah.
But you're doing an eisegesis based upon a Western use of the word companion, not a Quranic use of the word companion. Well, this is the point. In Islam, as you have already recognized, you are given companions.
Sure.
And that these companions do have sex with you.
It doesn't say that explicitly, but yes, the implication, I accept that implication is there.
Can they refuse?
I don't know, you tell me.
Well, imagine you're in paradise, right? You're in Islamic paradise.
Yes.
Yeah, you're on your Jeffrey Epstein Island. You've gone up to your sex.
Hang on a second.
You've gone up.
You're fitting in there. Like
having a niggle.
Yeah,
I'm having a niggle. Yeah, that's why I'm. Yeah, you're right. You called me on it.
Quranic description of heaven to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Yes, because Jeffrey Epstein could.
Deliberately.
Yeah, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
I know you're teasing.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean. That what you're doing is you're interpolating things that are not there in the text.
Right. Hold on. So let's just stick to the rigid view. You're in your heavenly mansion. You've got your rivers of non-alcoholic wine flowing by.
Wine in heaven too.
Yeah, I know. You've got your fruit. You've got your fruit. You're ready, your dates and your grapes and all the rest of it. And you've got your companion.
Yes, companion.
Imagine a situation in your heavenly home where you say, I want to have sex with buxom companion number 62, because you get 70. But buxom companion says, I'm sorry, Hamid, I don't feel like it tonight. I don't want to have sex with you tonight. Does that sound like paradise to you? That your requests are refused?
I'm not sure. I mean, the thing is, I think, and this is where I think your argument falls apart.
Go on.
Because what the Quran says, thank you.
She's trying to get the same, so we can get the same.
What the Quran says very, very clearly is that the righteous will go to heaven.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the people who are not righteous, people who are wicked, iniquitous, they don't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, got your voice.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
So, and there's something similar, to be honest, in the gospel, isn't there? Because Jesus says in the gospel that, I don't know the exact words, but he says the truth will set you free.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And if you don't embrace the truth, then you're a servant of sin.
You're a servant of the demons, a slave of the demons.
I think the term is servant of sin.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a different reading, but that's the whole point. So the point is that the people who go to heaven are righteous. They're righteous people. They make righteous choices.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
They don't do things. This is
Yeah.
what you're doing. Is you're painting a picture
Yeah.
in which there's all sort of chicanery and promiscuity
Yes,
and,
yes.
and
Correct.
infidelity going on. But those sorts of people don't go to heaven.
Right, let me ask you this
Do you
question.
get what I'm saying?
I really do. I understand your argument. Let me reply.
Yeah.
Would you agree with me that if a man was to buy a doll and have sex with a doll, that would be degenerate?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right.
Well, it's
Would
kind of-
it-
it's-
would it-
I would say it's perverted.
Yeah, degenerate.
I would say, yeah.
Would you say it is degenerate if humanity, because believe me, some genius is going to try and do this, some maniacal genius is going to try and do this, if we cloned human beings for the purpose of having sex with them, or we built sex robots, that both of those things would be degenerate?
Cloning people specifically for the purpose of sexual gratification.
Would be degenerate.
Well, yeah, perverted. Yeah.
If we built a robot for the purpose of doing everything that you wanted, including having sex with you, would that be degenerate as well?
Sure, but I don't think
Right.
that's what happens.
One second.
Yeah.
Explain to me why you think that is degenerate.
Because I believe, I think you said at one point in what you were talking about, I think it's in Genesis, right at the beginning,
Yeah.
that God created them male and female.
Correct.
And what God has joined,
Let no man put asunder. Yeah.
And so there's this conception that healthy intimate relationship is between a man and a woman.
Between a man and a woman.
Exactly.
Right, yep.
When I tried to interject earlier.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was trying to say.
Go on.
That this moral precept is a Quranic precept.
Yep.
The Quran doesn't endorse homosexuality.
Yeah.
Right?
Neither
It's
does the Bible.
same-
Yeah.
It's the same as the Bible
Yeah.
on that point. And so what you're doing is you're really trying to present these two religions, or I'm not sure whether you're focusing on the religions or whether you're focusing on the scriptures.
The vision of paradise, that's the
right,
focus.
So you're talking about the Quran.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to portray the Quran as something miles apart from the Bible.
Which it is,
as
yeah.
Well, I think it is, because on this point you agree they're the same.
Right, hold on one second.
Right, you
No,
agree
no.
they're the same as far as homosexuality goes and healthy sexual relationships between men and women. You agree they're the same on that?
Can I reply?
Yeah.
Right, what's your name, by the way?
Imran.
Imran, firstly, thank you very much for engaging.
Sorry
And
for raising my voice.
no, it's fine, it's fine. Speaker's corner, it's fine. And I appreciate the fact that you patiently waited and that we're now having a good conversation about this.
Glad to.
But let me just pick up on this degeneracy point.
Okay.
Because you, and I agree with everything you said, you said that the reason why having sex with clones and robots is degenerate is because we should have sex in an intimate, meaningful relationship between men and women. Right? Now, let us think about marriage and about the Islamic vision of heaven. You agree with me, because I know already, that in marriage it has to be consensual.
Correct.
Right. But the companions in heaven that are created for you in heaven, they don't have a choice to say no. Because if they do, I want to see it. I want to see the evidence that they have a choice. Because everything that I've... Wait, let me land.
Okay.
Every single text that I've read on this topic implies that they are there to serve you hand and foot in every possible way, and that is what they do.
Which text are you talking about?
The Quran and the Hadiths.
Well, you're going
Do
to
you-
need
do you-
to
do you-
show me.
right.
Because what you're doing is, I'll tell you what you're doing.
Yeah. I'll just
You're
point out the
making-
previous two Muslims that I spoke to, Amina and Hamid,
Right.
accepted that premise without argument. They never. You're the first Muslim.
The sex between an inhabitant of paradise
Yeah.
and these companions
Yes.
is non-consensual. That they admitted that.
Yes, that they were created
I
for
don't
that
agree.
purpose.
I think the whole point of a companion is that it's consensual.
Right.
That's what a companion is.
So here's...
I mean, it's like, let me give
Go
you
on.
an example. Let's say you're a Christian or a Muslim living on earth and you're single, right? And you want a relationship. You want to be in a relationship. So you pray to God and you say, God, give me a... are you listening to me?
I am, but I'm also... Go on.
Okay. And you pray to God and you say, God, give me a companion. I'm lonely, give me a companion. And let's say God causes you to meet somebody, and then you get married and you have a happy relationship. Are you saying that that is now non-consensual because I prayed for it and God gave it to me?
Right.
That doesn't change the fact that it's consensual, does it?
Right. If one of the partners doesn't have a choice in the relationship...
Well, the scenario that I
Right.
just described.
So I'm asking you to demonstrate your point. So if you've made a claim, the evidence is on you. So I'm going to now go up and pull up some evidence. You need to do the same, and let's compare our evidences. Okay?
So I want you to show me where it says that the intimacy is non-consensual. That's
Right.
what I'm trying to get. Because the word companion, that's what I'm trying to get across to you. The word companion implies consent.
They're not... The companions was Hamid's term. The Islamic term is pure maidens.
Maidens, okay.
Right?
Well,
and a
how
maid
it-
is a
this
servant.
how
A maid is a servant.
how it's
Right?
translated, yeah.
I just went with Hamid's term because that's the language he wanted to use. Right? But let me just look at this.
Do you know why?
Wait, listen.
Okay, yeah.
Verily, this is Allah speaking in Surah Yasin 36:56.
Okay.
Verily, the companions of paradise that day will be busy in amusement, and their spouses in shade reclining on adorned couches. So Allah is saying
The word
that
there is spouse.
the spouses busy in amusement.
Yes, they're
Right?
partners.
Yes, the companions of paradise that day will be busy in amusement. Who are they amusing? Themselves or you?
Not sex toys, huh?
No,
Does it say anywhere in the Quran sex
spouses.
toys?
It said
Sex
spouses.
slaves?
Right, it doesn't say that.
It doesn't exist.
What the word you're
Nowhere.
looking at, the
600
Arabic
pages?
word you're looking
All
at.
his
Yeah.
claim 1 hour
Okay,
ago.
which
We
was-
can debate with you later, sir.
No, I'm just
Having some manners is a good practice. Maybe you should try and apply that
doesn't
right
say-
now.
I'm arguing
Sex
your point.
Yes,
so
yeah, you don't need to interrupt.
Okay,
Yeah,
just calm down.
yeah, calm down.
We're
Yeah,
already-
we're quite able to have an adult conversation.
Yeah.
I know you're not able to have an adult conversation, but he is.
So
Yeah, so thank you. Go on.
You quoted me a couple of verses there, which said
I've
that-
one verse. I've got another.
No, it's actually two
I've got another.
verses.
Yes, sorry, I've got another.
Right. So the word that was used there was it was translated spouses.
Yep.
And the Arabic word, if I'm not mistaken, is azwaj, which means like the second of a pair. Right? This has no connotation of non-consensual sex. That's not there at all in the verse that you... And the other thing, while you were talking to one of the other people, you asked me to dig up a verse which talked about wives.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
What you need is to show me that these companions have choices. Because here's another verse, Surah Al-Waqiyah, 56:35-38. Verily, we have produced the women of paradise
Yes.
in a new creation and made them virgins devoted and matched in age for the companions of the right. So in other words, Allah has made them devoted to you. That implies that they're not getting a choice in this.
Well, hang on a second.
If they are created to be devoted, do they have a choice in their devotion?
Right. So what you're doing here, let me try and explain this because this is a little bit philosophical. Okay, it's a little bit philosophical. When somebody becomes, this is why I was quoting you Jesus, who said, "Embrace the truth, and it will set you free." Because what you do when you give up a sinful life and you become a servant of God is that your will becomes aligned with the will of God. These companions, they are happy to be companions to these inhabitants in heaven. They're happy to be inhabitants.
So they don't have a choice.
The same way, well, it depends what you mean by that. Like I said, it's the same way that if I was unmarried or you were unmarried and you pray to God,
Yep.
that God, give me a companion, I'm
Yeah.
lonely, give me a companion.
Yeah.
And then God causes you to bump into a nice lady and you become companions. Now, are you saying that lady, God answered your prayer and gave you a companion? Are you saying that lady doesn't have a choice?
In the
That it's
Christian in the
non-consensual?
Christian perception,
Yes.
because remember, we're comparing the Christian vision of heaven to the Islamic one. Firstly, There are no sexual companions in the Christian vision of heaven. Our understanding of heaven is that we have an intimate communion with the eternal, uncreated Creator.
And that's what the Quran
Right?
says too. Yes.
The Quran is talking about these companions that you have.
Yes.
And he is saying that he has created them devoted to you.
Yes.
They are devoted to you, which means they don't have a choice in this.
No.
They don't have a
that's the
choice.
bit where
They're
I'm gonna catch
created to be devoted.
That's where I'm going to catch you.
They're
Because
created
like I
to be
say,
devoted.
The situation we're talking about is analogous to you praying for a wife and God giving you a
Yeah.
wife. And that wife loves you and she's devoted to you and she's matched in age and all of that.
But in marriage, it's consensual.
Exactly.
But in paradise, these beings don't have a choice. Do you agree with me that a woman has a real choice when she chooses to marry you or me or anyone else?
Oh, well, look at this, right?
Go on.
Why do you have this image in Greco-Roman culture of Cupid firing an arrow at someone, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people fall in love and you don't know why, right?
Yeah.
So you pray to God for a wife because you're lonely. God answers your prayer and some woman magically falls in love with you and becomes your wife. Are you saying that that woman, that's now non-consensual because God made her fall in love with you?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, but let me
Your attention
let
is
me
on your
let
phone.
me let me let
I
me.
think you're not quite getting what I'm saying. That in the same way
You're
God
saying
could
that
give you a wife,
yes,
right? And that wife would be devoted.
Right, but the point is, in marriage, there is a real choice. In earthly marriage, there is a real choice. The woman has the possibility of saying no. That is a real thing that she can do.
Sure.
But these companions in paradise do not have that choice.
If a woman in
And
this
let me just so I'm quoting an Islamic website. Right? I want to point out, right? Consider this is the justification for the creation of these maidens. Do you want to bring in that point?
Well, you don't want people to interrupt, so
Okay.
that's why I'm letting him speak.
Right. So this is what the Islamic website says. Yeah.
Why are you going to an Islamic website?
Why
don't you
wouldn't I
show
go
me
to?
something to the Quran? Because
Well, I
you
already
said-
have.
You said.
All right,
the
no,
Quranic vision
sir, let me finish.
of heaven.
Let me finish. It is the Islamic vision of
No,
heaven,
no,
and I'm not distorting.
Quranic.
I'm not distorting it. And Islamic, this is their justification for these passages about having companions in heaven. Listen. Consider that plenty of men never have the chance to marry, even as they must take up arms to defend their community. They might be tempted to commit adultery or some other sexual misbehavior, thinking that they would miss out on such pleasures if they were to die. So this tradition is meant to reassure them that they would be married to pure maidens in paradise as an incentive to keep their sexual lust restrained in this world. In other words, these maidens are created for the purpose of having sex with Muslim men.
You've read something out, and now you're twisting what it said. It says married.
Yes.
Married.
Yes.
The same word that you are saying is so important. Marriage. You see, what you need to do.
Where's their choice? If they are created for the purpose of marriage, they don't have a choice.
Your wife was created
Under
for the
Sharia,
purpose of
wait,
marrying you.
is God always just and consistent?
Yes.
Under Sharia law, is a forced marriage invalid?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Therefore, all of these marriages according to Sharia law are invalid because the created being doesn't have a choice. They simply are created for the purpose of the marriage. And that means, according to Sharia law, it's an invalid marriage.
I don't think you've actually made that case at all, okay? And I think one of the things that you are deliberately sidestepping is the consistency between the moral precepts of the Bible and the moral precepts of the Quran. And that was something I raised earlier. And you're kind of, you sidestepped it. And
no, I really
rather
didn't.
talk about differences, and you'd rather sort of try and paint this picture that these books are essentially incompatible and can never be reconciled. Now, the thing is, the reality is that what you believe about marriage between a man and a woman, and you believe that homosexual relationships are not healthy sexual relationships, the Quran says the same thing, Muslims say the same thing. And the inhabitants of paradise, I think we agreed on that too. It's the righteous people who enter paradise. People who are, like it says in there, people who might be going to war,
Yeah.
okay, but they won't give in to adultery. They're not lustful.
Yeah.
They're not that kind of person. What you're doing is you're saying, taking that person and saying once he gets into heaven, he turns into some kind of, lecherous man and just wants to have
That's not
sex
the
with
argument.
everybody.
No, that's not the argument.
Well, exactly. Well, great.
No, you haven't. You've
Well,
missed my
great.
argument. If you think that's my argument, you've missed my argument.
Okay, so great. At least you're admitting that these.
I haven't admitted
paradise-
anything either. I'm just saying you missed my argument. If that's what you think my argument is.
What your argument is. That
There's no admission.
These companions were created to be companions or wives.
Wives, yeah.
Right, to these inhabitants of paradise, and you're saying that means they don't have a choice, right?
Where is your evidence that they have a choice? Because one second,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So reading from Al-Tirmidhi, which is graded Sahih 1663,
Okay.
right? It says, it talks about the rewards of heaven, and I'll just quote the one line that's relevant to what we're talking about. Talking about the martyrs, the Mujahid martyrs, his reward, says that he is married to 72 wives amongst the pure maidens of paradise, right? Nothing about that says that the maidens have a choice.
You said married, right?
Yes, that's what it says. So,
Exactly.
because
So
obviously,
marriage is a consensual relationship.
no. Where is the evidence of the consent that those beings created for the purpose of being wives have a choice? Where is your evidence? Because I'm pointing out to you that according to Islamic sources, they are created for the purpose of being a companion, for being a pure maiden, for being a wife. If they are created for that purpose, they don't have a choice. And if they don't have a choice, it isn't a valid marriage. It's also degenerate because they're not entering into the sexual relationship freely. They're doing it because they're created for the purpose of doing so.
I already gave you the analogy.
Without
of
evidence.
God giving-
Where is your
So
evidence?
the evidence is.
Go
and
on,
this is
please.
where-
Quote. I'm quoting. You quote. Where's your evidence?
So what you're saying is that God, you admitted that God is always just. Yes.
My God is always just. Allah is not always just.
Well, you admit that according to the Quran, God is always just. You admit that that is the concept of God that is presented in the Quran.
No, actually,
God calls himself just.
He calls
You
him.
admit-
I'll agree that
Okay,
God
you
calls
agree.
himself
Perfect,
just in the Quran.
perfect. And that God is opposed to oppression. You agree that that is certainly the precept that is expressed in the Quran.
God calls himself just. Yes.
And he's opposed to oppression.
No, I disagree with that.
He says that explicitly.
It might say it, but this is the reason.
Right, okay.
Hold on one second. This is exactly the reason why I reject Islam. Because it says things like Allah is the most just. And then you see Allah carrying out injustice consistently in the Quran and the Hadith. It says that Allah is opposed to oppression, and yet you see oppression in Sharia law. So, but this is a side. Let's not get bogged down in that point. I'm just not. You make your case. You make your case. But I'm just not conceding to those points. But that doesn't stop you from making your case that Allah is just and that He is opposed to oppression. Go on.
At least that claim is made. You agree that that claim is made.
Yeah.
Those claims are made.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the difference is arising here.
Yeah.
Because what you are doing is you're rejecting the God of the Quran, not because of injustice. I'll tell you why you're rejecting the God of the Quran. You're rejecting the God of the Quran because you see the Quran and the Muslim religion as a threat to Christianity and the Bible. That's why. And then what you do is you search through the text trying to find something that you can twist into an injustice and say, look, I found it. This is an example of the God of the Quran being unjust. So you're starting with a premise. You're not actually looking at how God is described in the Quran as infinitely just, infinitely true, opposed to oppression, all of the moral precepts of the Quran aligning with the moral precepts of the Bible. You're not looking at that. You're not seeing all of that commonality. You're ignoring that because you have an agenda. And your agenda is to try and denigrate the God of the Quran because you want to show that this religion is wrong and my religion is right. And that's where it is. That's where you're going.
Allow me to reply.
Yes.
I mean, certainly Islam is a threat to the Christian church, and Sharia law is a threat to Christians There's 1400 years of Christian history that would demonstrate that. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with me opposing an evil ideology. You know, black folk in America have every right to oppose the Ku Klux Klan and their ideology because it is demonstrable that the Ku Klux Klan, the Ku Klux Klan is a threat to the black community. Jews have every right to oppose Nazis because Nazis demonstrably are a threat to Jews, and Christians have every right to oppose Muslims who want to bring Sharia law because that will result in Christians being persecuted. However, all of that said, it is a moving away from the terms and topic of the debate. So let me try and advance and get us back on track to the argument.
Well,
let us get us back on track to the argument. In Islamic literature, they're called 72 virgins. That's the common way that they're described. I am not misrepresenting Islam by saying that. Just look at a whole bunch of Islamic websites. That's how they're going to be described. My question is, why aren't they called 72 wives? Why is the emphasis on their virginity? It's obviously appealing to something. It's obviously speaking into something. And as we've already demonstrated from the earlier quote, it's speaking into man's fear that if he goes out and fights jihad and dies without having lots of sex, that he might think he's missed out on something, and that might cultivate cowardice in him. So the tradition of Al-Tamidi is there to say, don't worry, if you don't get to have lots of sex on earth, you're going to get lots of sex in heaven. Right? Now, here's my question. Yes, no, hold on. I know that they are called wives.
Right.
And I
call them wives then.
I
Don't call them sex slaves.
I concede that they are called wives.
Yes.
However, if they do not have a choice, then you might call them wives,
really
but in reality they are slaves. If you call them, you might call them wives, but if they don't have a choice and their sole reason for their existence is to be your wife, it is because therefore we can rightly call them slaves. It's just a rose by any other name, and I'm going to land. It's just a rose by any other name. We can call it a different name, but it is still what it is. No, let me. If you're going to interrupt the conversation, let's call a spade a spade. Yes, and here's why. Here's why Allah calls them wives. Here's why in Islamic tradition they're called wives, not slaves. They're called wives because obviously you're going to have sex with 72 of them. 72 of them, which on earth would be understood as being promiscuous. So they all have to be called wives. They all have to be called wives so that Allah is not admitting to his promiscuity. But let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Which of these two scenarios do you want? Do you want to be able to have sex with 72 creatures that can't choose to not have sex with you? Or do you want to be able to walk and talk with your God in heaven every day, consistently, without interruption? Which of those two visions of heaven is more appealing to you?
The vision that you're talking about
is the Christian vision.
Inhabitants commune with God, that is a Quranic vision as well. It's not an exclusively Christian view. And this is the big problem here, is that you ignore the commonalities, you focus on minutiae, you twist the meaning of wives into sex slaves, and you're doing this because, as you said, you have an agenda. You see Islam as a threat.
You still haven't shown me a single verse, by the way.
Because I was explaining.
But you haven't shown me any evidence, and you demanded evidence of me. You haven't provided any evidence at all that these maids, these servants, these wives have a choice. Where is the evidence that they have a choice?
I'll repeat it to you.
You could win the argument. Just show me the evidence.
Exactly. Well,
go on then.
I already did it, but it didn't
no, you
penetrate your ears. The word for these companions, the words that is used is azwaj. I told you, that means the second of a pair. That means a partner. That means a companion. That means marriage. That means consensual relationship.
No.
That's what that word means. If you don't agree with that, what you're doing is you're changing the dictionary definition of a word into a word that suits your agenda. That's what you're doing. Secondly, I said to you that the moral precepts of the Quran are the same, essentially, as the Bible. Pretty much all the same. And the Quran does not endorse oppression. It does not endorse compulsion, rape, these sorts of things that you are attributing by twisting the meaning of this word.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is,
Go on.
look, I know this is probably what you do for a living, right? You go around slagging off Islam, slagging off Muslims, slagging
Or just
off the
exposing
Quran.
its inconsistencies.
Look, I'm quite happy to talk about if you have genuine questions, but you need to adjust your attitude. You need to be more accommodating, and you need to be more, what's the word? Charitable, more good-willed in your reading of the Quran. Because I don't sense that goodwill. What I sense is anger, I sense animosity, I sense, this is an alien religion, and it's dangerous to me, it's a threat to me. This is what's coming across. How many times in this conversation I've quoted to you from the Bible in a charitable way? I've quoted to you from Genesis about that God created them male and female. I quoted you from Jesus, where he said, the truth will set you free and you won't be a servant of sin. Where is this charity from you? Can you quote me anything from the Quran right now? Can you quote me anything from the Quran and say, I read this in the Quran and I actually think it's a good thing? Can you do that and show me that you have goodwill?
Right.
Can you do that?
So, firstly,
if you can't, it means you don't have goodwill.
So, firstly, I don't have to jump through any of your hoops. Secondly, the fact that we are having a dignified conversation shows goodwill. And every time I come to this park and I talk with a Muslim and we have a goodwill conversation, I always leave them with a gift. I always give them a gift. I come prepared to be a gift giver. That is a sign of goodwill, right? But the point is that you have demanded evidence that these creatures, because we are talking about creatures, we're not talking about human beings, you've demanded evidence that they don't have a choice in this. And I pointed out to you that Allah created them for the express purpose of being a virgin to their husbands, of being a pure virgin, of being a companion, which means that if they are created for that purpose, they don't have a choice. They are like cattle that till the field. Oxen that are taken by men to till the field don't get a choice in what they are doing. No, I haven't finished. No, I have not finished. And I have given you evidence from your hadiths, from your Quran, and you have not once given any verse from a hadith or a tasfiyah or a Quranic script that says that these maids freely choose to enter into the marriage. Not one bit of evidence. You're arguing from the term wife. That's your argument. But the point is that a wife, if she isn't making a free choice, isn't a wife. The reason why she's a wife is because she's making a free choice, and these beings are created for the purpose of serving the ones that are their companions. And I want to see now some evidence that you've got that they are making a choice. Can you provide that evidence, yes or no?
Yes, I can.
Go on,
so
please.
Let me try and explain it. I've got your full attention now. You're not looking at your phone.
Okay,
So
you're not going to provide any evidence, I can tell.
I am.
Go on then.
So, like I said, the word you agreed, the word that was used was wives. Now, the burden of proof, if you are saying this means non-consensual companions, the burden of proof is on you, because the natural meaning.
I've shown it.
The natural meaning. No, everything you showed me said married. Everything you showed me said spouses.
Can there be forced marriages?
So let me just.
Can there be forced marriages?
A forced marriage isn't really a marriage, is it?
Exactly.
It's not.
But are people calling them forced marriages? No, think logically. Do we agree that on earth people can be forced into marriages like what happens to Christians in Pakistan and Christians in Egypt, where Christian girls are kidnapped and forced into marriages with Muslim men? Would you agree that those are called marriages, but they're not marriages?
They're not really marriages.
Thank you.
Right.
So it is possible to call something by a false name, isn't it?
But the Quran doesn't do that.
Yes, it does, and that's the point.
Right. So that's your argument. You're arguing that, and that's why I'm saying the burden of proof is on you. Because you're telling me that I shouldn't take the natural meaning of a word, I should adopt a different meaning.
Yeah.
And so the burden of proof is on you. The second thing is, and you did it yourself, gave a very good example. You said that these oxen work the land for us, right? God created them to do this work. So does that mean they don't have a choice?
They don't have a choice.
Right, does that mean it's injustice?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Right,
so
hold
why
on one
is it
second.
not injustice?
Right, the reason why it's not injustice is because the relationship to the ox and the farmer is a functional relationship of reciprocity. The farmer protects the ox.
Well, sometimes he kills the ox
Yes, he does.
for food.
Yes.
Right, so
Is
now,
that injustice?
is that
injustice?
I'm asking you.
No. Why is it injustice? Let me explain why it's injustice with these wives. It is injustice.
finish my
It is
point.
injustice.
Let me finish
It
my
is
point
injustice because you're having sex with a being that cannot have sex with you. For instance, is it degenerate? Is it unjust to have sex with a sheep? Is it degenerate and unjust? Thank you. Why?
The point I was making, and it says so in Genesis,
Yeah.
that God created these animals for you.
No, it doesn't
Right?
say that, but go on.
What does it say then?
We'll get sidetracked if we go down that
Okay,
road.
let's not go into the details, but certainly we eat animals. God created those animals.
Yes.
And we've been told that we can eat them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we are doing that.
Yes.
So God created these animals. This animal gets killed, and
Yep.
then it ends up in your belly or my
Yep.
belly.
Yes.
Now you're saying that's not injustice,
That is not injustice.
right?
Why is it not injustice?
Because well, your argument is, it doesn't involve sex.
Because because it is a proper function. It is rightly ordered to use an animal like an ox for food or for sacrifice in the Old Covenant.
Says who?
God.
Right.
Right, 1 second. But sex is created by God as a way of having intimacy with your wife, and a wife must freely choose to enter into marriage with you.
No.
In Islam, in the Islamic version of paradise, the slave wives have no choice in having sex with you or in being married to you. They are created for the purpose of being devoted to you. The emphasis is on them being virgins, which is appealing to man's sexual lust. And the reason why it's degenerate is because you're not having a meaningful relationship when you shag one of these creatures. It's like shagging a sheep.
It's a marriage, it's companionship.
Where's the choice?
Intimacy.
I'll ask you one more time, because I've asked you 3 times now and you've not given a shred of evidence. Where is your evidence that it is a choice, that she, the created, devoted virgin, chooses to marry the Muslim man in paradise? Where is your evidence?
2 evidences, like I said, 3 evidences I've given you. You're not listening.
I know, I listened to
You're like
all of
those
them.
people-
You said it's about the word and the fact,
word and what that word means.
the
Yes.
word that it means one of a pair. That does not mean that she made a choice, because a man who kidnaps a girl and forces her to marry her is still one of a pair. No choices in there. Secondly, a man who kidnaps a girl, as they do in Egypt, as they do in Pakistan, to Christian girls in Egypt, in Pakistan, as they do, let's not touch, as they do in Pakistan and Egypt, they call them marriages. And the state recognizes them as marriages, but you and I both know they're not real marriages, because the girl doesn't have a choice. So it's about the choice. And so now you have to demonstrate, not through sophism, but through a clear statement, that the being created in heaven to be the wife of the Muslim man does so by choice. Where is your evidence, please?
Like I said, I was going through it and you interrupted me.
Yes, the first one wasn't the choice.
The first one was about the word. And
Which
like you
doesn't
said,
prove it.
you
Doesn't
are-
carry the
you are
argument.
assigning a meaning to that word.
And I'll shut
which
up
it
now. Go
doesn't
on.
have. Okay? And the second point is that throughout the Quran, and I don't think you've read the whole Quran, have you?
I haven't read any of the Quran in Arabic.
Right.
I
No,
read
have
only
you
the
read-
translation.
Have you read the whole thing in
Yes.
translation? Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you've done that, because a lot of polemicists don't do that. They cherry pick verses that they want to use for this kind of debate.
Yeah.
So the fact that you read the whole Quran, I commend you on that. I'm very pleased with that. Because if you do read the whole Quran, you will see that all the way through,
Okay.
the God of the Quran is like the God of the Bible.
This does not prove.
It does prove.
Does not
Let me
prove.
finish the point.
Does not prove.
Let me finish the point.
Go on.
The God of the Quran is just like the God of the Bible. He is opposed to oppression.
That's a
He is
disputed
opposed
premise.
to rape.
That's a
He is
disputed
opposed to
premise.
all of these things.
That's a disputed
Okay,
premise.
well, that's where people, and I would recommend people do this. Don't just listen to this man.
Or this man.
Go and read the Quran. Or me. Go and read the Quran. Read it from start to finish and see whether I'm right or he's right about the Quran's position on oppression, on compulsion, on all
Slavery,
of this kind of persecution. Go and
beating
see
women,
who is right, me or
oppress,
him,
waging
right?
war against
Go and
Christians
see.
and Jews.
So that's why your interpretation of this word is completely inconsistent with the rest of the Quran.
Which still doesn't prove
It
your
does
point.
prove the
No,
point.
it doesn't.
It does.
What's your third reason?
What I'm doing is I'm reading
We're
that
2
word.
for 2, no hit, no strike yet. Go on, what's the
I'm
third one?
reading the word according to its dictionary meaning and according to contextual meaning in the context of the rest of the Quran. And the third point is, like I said, God, you could pray for a wife, God could give you a wife, give you a companion, that does, and it would be a consensual relationship.
Thank
the
you.
fact that God did that doesn't mean that it's now not consensual because God did it in answer to your prayer.
Right, so
Okay,
so
that's
when
the-
when God, the thing is, in terms of thanking God for giving me a wife, right? That is what Christians should do in all situations and circumstances. We should always praise and thank God for everything that comes our way, including all the times that our life goes wrong as well. We thank God for those times because it gives us the opportunity to grow in our belief and in our practice of our belief. But none of the arguments you've made have demonstrated in any way, that these companions are making a choice. You've simply eisegesed it into the word. You've created a false premise in your comparison between Allah and Yahweh, and then in your third point, you've assumed it, but you haven't demonstrated it. Whereas I demonstrated to you from your own texts that Allah creates them for the purpose of being a wife, and that the reward is guaranteed by Allah that they will have 72 virgins, and none of that implies that the 72 virgins get any choice at all in the decision. But now let's come back to the question you didn't answer, and I want you to answer this question. Which vision of heaven is better? The vision that says you have 72 virgins, you get to have sex with them every night if you want to, that they come back to you as virgins the next day, that they wait on you hand and foot, that there's rivers of unalcoholic wine flowing past you, or this idea that you can walk and talk and know God intimately, that you can share in God's fellowship, and that you can be with God like in an intimate way, like almost like a marriage.
Okay,
It's so intimate.
we've got to the stage-
Which of those two visions
We've got
is
to-
superior?
we've
Please.
got to the stage where we're repeating questions.
Marriage to virgins,
And we're repeating
a relationship that's
Okay.
akin to marriage to virgins, or a relationship that's akin to marriage to God.
So we got to the stage, like I said, where you've repeated that
Yeah.
question a few times.
But you
I've
never answered it.
a few times.
Yeah, you said it was an
And
Islamic
if
vision.
people-
You said it was an Islamic vision. Show me in the Quran where it says that you have a relationship. Bro, you focus on me.
Yeah, I know he is. And what I'm trying
Right.
to do is I'm trying
You're
to
running
build
away.
bridges.
You're running. Don't
I'm
run
trying to
away.
build bridges.
Don't run away. And I just got to say, I do appreciate the good spirited way that you're doing
Great,
this.
thank you.
I do appreciate
Yes,
that.
thank
And I'm going to give you a gift, just like I give everybody a gift, because I'm also a man of goodwill. But the point that I want to ask you is this, right? Where in the Quran does it teach this idea of a deep, almost marriage-like intimacy with God? Show me in the Quran,
Okay, I can
please.
show you right
Yeah,
now.
go on, get your Quran. Show me.
I have only got. Have you got a Quran?
Yeah, I have a Quran.
Okay, let me show
I'll hold it, but you can tell me where to go.
you. It's chapter 90. 89.
So we're going to see that you have a marriage-like intimacy with Allah.
Yes.
Surah 89. Go on, what verse, please? I'll hold my Quran,
Is it
please.
the last verse of the chapter?
Okay,
The
last-
the last 4 verses.
the last 4 verses, okay? So 27, 28, 29,
You
30.
can read it out.
Lo, the righteous soul will be said, O thou soul, in complete rest and satisfaction. Come back thou to thy Lord, well pleased thyself, and well pleasing unto him. Enter thou then among my devotees, yea, enter thou my heaven. I don't see anything there that describes a marriage-like intimacy with God.
The verse you just read, the third verse from
Which one lands at the point? Which one?
Pleased
Yeah.
himself,
Yeah.
and well pleasing unto him. God is pleased with him,
Yeah.
and he is pleased with God.
But that is not a deep intimacy.
Why is that not a deep intimacy?
No,
Let me
that's
just
not a
ask
deep
you something.
intimacy.
Let me just ask you something.
Yeah.
Before I pointed out this verse to you,
Yeah.
and it's 89 for people who want to
Yeah,
look it up. 89, and the number is 28.
Yes.
Before I just pointed this verse out to you, did you have this verse in your consciousness?
No.
No. So you're reacting to it. and
Yes,
it's a
in real
knee-jerk-
time.
in a
Yes, in real
knee-jerk
time.
reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a knee-jerk reaction. You're not. What I would suggest you do is go away and absorb it a little bit. What it says there is God is pleased with him,
Yep.
and he is pleased with God. It's a perfect communion.
Yeah.
It says.
No. Hold on. Hold on. 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah.
You see, again, you're doing a bit of eisegesis there. Would you agree with me that it is possible for your manager to be pleased with you and you to be pleased with your manager?
Yes.
Does that mean that you have an intimate relationship with your manager?
You have a friendly relationship.
Does that mean no, bro? It doesn't mean that you have an intimate relationship with your manager,
What
does
do you
it?
mean by intimate?
Well, that's the point. I asked you to show me in the Quran where you had something that was comparable to the Christian vision of almost like a marriage intimacy.
What do you mean
With
by
God.
marriage intimacy
Yes,
with God?
exactly.
Do you mean sex with God? or
No,
what
of
do you
course
mean?
not.
Right, so what do
But,
you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it means a profound knowing, a profound meeting of mind
Yes,
and soul.
excellent,
It
yes.
means a relationship, a communion. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and what I'm telling
yes.
you,
But you
and
didn't
this
show
is-
that in that verse.
That verse.
You didn't show that in that verse.
If you go away and look at that verse carefully,
Yeah.
and there's not the only one. There are others too. Okay? But if you look at these verses, that's exactly what you are describing there about communion, meeting of minds, understanding, being pleased with each other. That's exactly what's being described.
Let me show you
This
what
is
such a
where
vision would
you
look like.
You are portraying, like I say, you're doing this. You're portraying the Quran as completely opposite
It is.
and different.
It is
It's
different.
not, and people can read. You are.
Let me
creating
prove my
division.
point to you. Let me prove my
You are
point to you.
creating
Because
division.
you quoted, you're absolutely right. I am creating division. You
Yes.
got me bang to rights there because truth divides. Truth always divides.
Truth divides,
Truth divides from error. Light divides from darkness. Righteousness divides from unrighteousness. Islam is unrighteous, it is false, and it is untrue. And so it is right that we divide from Islam. And it is right that we create a society that divides from Islam. But let me just show you what a real vision of marriage intimacy would look like if it was being offered in any scripture. Because your verse is not
That's not the
comparable.
only verse, by the
Well,
way.
show me a better one, because here's what it looks like. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there is no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, made ready as a bride, adorned to her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is amongst men, and he will dwell amongst them. And they shall be his people, and God himself will be amongst them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning, or crying, or pain. The first things have passed away. And he who sits on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. And he said, Write these words, for I am faithful and true. Then he said to him, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and I will give to the one who thirsts the springs of the water of life without cost, and he who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. Do you believe in Islam that Allah is ever going to call you his son, that he's ever going to call you his bride, or he will ever abide with you?
What do you mean by bride? Do you mean that God will have sex?
No.
No, exactly. So this is where You have to be.
So again, so
Sorry.
what we mean
What
by
I-
so
what
let
I-
me explain. What do I mean by
know what
right?
it means. I've read Revelation.
It is
So you don't
it
need
is
to
a
explain it.
profound and
Yeah, I
in-depth,
know what-
loving relationship
So
between
My
the
friend, what's
Christ
your
and his church. People call me Bob.
Bob, you don't need to explain it to me. I've read the Bible
Yeah.
start to finish. Okay, you're not talking to someone who's ignorant of these things. What I'm trying to say to you is that that is a term. That is terminology that is being used. You won't necessarily find the same terminology in a different book from a different century. But the concept, the idea of this intimate relationship that you are talking about, it is throughout the Quran.
Show me.
It is there.
You showed me one verse. One second.
I showed you.
Yeah, no, but it didn't do that. All it did is say Allah is pleased
now
with
you're
you.
saying,
One second.
oh, it's
No,
not
hold
there.
on. But it isn't. All it said was Allah is pleased with you and you're pleased with Allah. Well, I could have that
Doesn't
kind.
say that.
One second. I could have that kind of relationship with a judge or my CEO or my boss. There's nothing intimate in that statement.
Why would it not be intimate if you like someone and they like you?
No. Pleased with someone.
Pleased? Like?
Yeah, but that's,
anything?
come on, do you ever go up to, you go up to your wife and you say, I'm pleased with you? Agreed, people can do that. But would you agree that there is a profound difference between going up to someone and saying, you are my wife, or you are my son, because again, it's that familial relationship, that synergy of
Just
being,
using terminology.
there's a synergy of being. For instance, in Islam, will Allah ever say to you, you are my son?
This term, son, is used in the Hebrew Bible.
So no.
And as long, well, it depends what you mean by son.
I have expressed it. It is
No.
I'm
So
expressing
so
it.
what you
A
mean is-
synergy
okay,
of being,
right,
an
synergy
intimacy of knowledge,
As long as
an
you mean that-
intimacy of communion.
As long as you mean that, then yes.
Right.
But if you mean, when you say son,
I don't think you know what synergy of being means, but go on.
what, I do know what that means.
You would, unless you are some kind of heretical Muslim, there's no way on earth you're going to agree to a synergy of being.
Why wouldn't I agree with this?
Let me show you.
Anyway, let's not
Let me show you what the
change
Bible
topic.
says
Let's
about
not change
synergy of
the
being.
topic. We can look. I'm happy to talk to you all day.
Yeah.
As long as
I don't have all day, but go on.
Okay, but I'm happy. Come back another time.
Oh, I'll tell you what. How about we meet outside the park for a coffee?
Fine.
Right.
We can do that.
Let me give you a means to
Because
contact me
this
then.
is a bit pressured situation. This is
I've
a
enjoyed
debate
talking to you.
situation.
That's for you to get in touch.
I'll email you then. Yeah.
Yeah. Get in touch with us. Let's go out for a coffee. My treat. I'll treat you.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm a man of goodwill. And also, just to show you that there is no hard feelings between us,
Yes.
let me give you a gift. There you go. That's for you.
If you want me to.
Yes, my gift to you. See?
You know, I
Because
prefer to read the Bible than read this.
read it with the Bible.
Because what Christians say and what Bible says are different.
It was a
But
pleasure
we
to
will
meet you.
a-
We'll have that
meet
conversation
again,
another time.
A more calmer conversation.
Yeah, in a different
calm
setting.
conversation
Let's chat some more.
Without the pressure.
It was like lovely talking to you. Take care. Yeah.